Welcome to Sugar, Spice, and Spirits, where happy hour meets hustle, and the only thing stronger than our cocktails are our opinions. Get ready to laugh, learn, and maybe question a few life choices. Cheers to being a little smarter and a whole lot spicier. So grab your drink, kick back, and let's mix a little business with a whole lot of fun. Because around here, success is always on the menu.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Sugar, Spice, and Spirits. I'm Mindy Price.
Natalie Pilkington.
And I'm Kelly Williams.
And that's going to take some getting used to. The reason why is she actually recently got married. And I was like, who are you saying you are?
I was like, what?
I did start to say my former name. And yes, I still get stuck. People call my name and I just sit there and don't answer. And they realize, yeah. So it takes some time to get used to.
And we're going to take some time to get used to. But you all, we are here and we are going to have so much fun. Sugar, Spice, and Spirits is here just to be all about business, life, real estate. And we hope that you find some fun and entertainment and joy. We are going to twist things up just a little bit to make it really fun. Each week, we are going to have what we call the sip of the day. We are going to share with you a spirit, a tequila, which a fun side note, just so many of you know, when we were originally thinking about coming up with the show, you'll learn more about us throughout these different episodes. I was like, Sugar and Spice. So Natalie and I used to have a radio show together, and somehow, how did we get named Sugar and Spice? Like, who came up with that?
One of the listeners.
Okay. Yeah. And then they were always like, well, who's Sugar? Who's Spice? Well, guess what? You'll find out. But when we decided...
Well, it also depended on the day.
Oh, this
the
is
day
true.
and the topic.
Yeah.
So, it went back and forth between you two, depending on how fired up each one of you got on that particular day. So,
and you might be able to find those episodes somewhere.
Yeah,
somewhere. And then we added Kelly to our mix. You were on the radio show a couple times.
I was a guest on that. Yeah, it wasn't mine, but I was there as a guest. So, yeah.
And you did a great job.
Thank you.
No pressure.
No pressure.
So, I wanted the show originally to be named Sugar, Spice, and Tequila. I happen to be a big tequila fan. I'll tell you why one of these days, because there was a point in time when I couldn't stomach tequila at all. But this one over here said, tequila, Mindy, that's very limiting. We don't want to limit ourselves just to tequila. Not everybody likes tequila as much as you like it. Some people right now are like, tequila, ooh, trust me. We're going to go along on a journey. I'm going to share different tequilas with you, like the one that I'm going to share today that we've actually never tried. And this one and I, we've tried some tequila. I've tortured you a bit over the years.
Yes. But
all right. So without further ado, let's get into my tequila. Now, I do have some notes here because I had to read about this tequila. I have not tried it. And I got this bottle of tequila actually for my very first speaking event that I did, where I was getting paid as my own company versus what I was doing before in the past and speaking all over the country. I did get actually money, and they gave me a great tequila. And it's thanks to my husband, because he found this tequila online, but he could never find the tequila. And one of his buddies knew that he was looking for it. I think it might have actually been his boss. And he's like, I found the tequila. And Travis is like, get it. I don't know if you can find this tequila. It's really hard to get. We're going to try it. We've not tried it. I don't think we're going to be able to do the thing where you don't make the tequila face. I don't care how good the tequila is. I always make a tequila face.
I make a face. Yeah.
So bear with us, but it's called Fortaleza Tequila. And what's really neat about this particular tequila, it's very distinct. You can see it at a bar in Mexico. I think they call it a different tequila because there's something with a rum and whatever. But in the United States, it is Tequila Fortaleza. You'll notice it by its top. They do have reposados. They have a still that you can also get. They have some añejos, I believe. But this is the Blanco. So we'll try it. These are hand-blown glasses in glass in Mexico. So that's just something else that's really neat about it. They use, of course, 100% agave to be tequila. And they cook it in brick ovens. There's something about Tahona wheels. Like, I don't really know. You know, I'm not a... This is my first time.
She just drinks it.
Alcohol.
She just drinks it. She doesn't make it. She just drinks it.
So we did go ahead and we poured it out to start. I heard when you first opened a bottle of tequila, the guy said, you want to let it air out? I was like, I thought you only did that with wine. I don't really know, but we're not going to take shots of this particular one. It's not a shooting tequila. It is one that you sip on. I may have a little heavier sip on my very first one, but ladies, I can fill us up because there are some things you're going to want to pay attention to. we might have to drink throughout the podcast, even when we get really serious, especially when certain things happen. But I'll let one of these two tell you about it. All right, ladies. So here we go. Let's
Cheers to our very first podcast and our first sip of Mindy's tequila. Cheers. That's not bad.
That is nice.
I didn't make a face.
I didn't make a
But
face.
I didn't shoot it. I just sipped it.
I like it.
It's really nice.
So and we talked about this earlier, where I always chill my tequila because to me it just goes down smoother. I chill it, of course, I salt and the whole Jose Cuervo kind of thing. But that was nice. That wasn't too bad. It was pretty smooth.
Yeah, and that was just room temperature.
Yeah,
Really good. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I read about this tequila and they said something about taste of butter and olive and
Apparently she
smooth
likes
and
it because she's
earth.
going in
And
for.
I didn't get all that. I just know I'm like, oh, I could drink that. So then I was watching because I wanted to be prepared for y'all. I was watching like, how do you really taste tequila and are you supposed to chill it? And I read this one thing.
Dove into this. She's taken her assignment very serious.
She did her research for y'all.
Yeah, you just wait on some of these next episodes on their drinks. They're really fun. But so one of them said, don't. Okay, she made a face. One of them said, you don't chill your tequila. Try not to. But then I was watching this other guy and he used a regular bottle. I think it was just like a Casamigos Blanco. And, you start out with the Blanco first, the more you age your tequila. Anyway, another episode. And this isn't a drinking show either, but he said, try it. And then he took it and he shook it up in ice and the guy tried it. He's like, oh, wow, it's a lot smoother. It didn't burn as much because sometimes tequila burns. And then he said, okay, now let's clear your palate. He drank some water, which we do have water here. Drink responsibly, by the way.
Yes.
And you're welcome to drink with us. Then he gave him another shot of the tequila. He only rimmed the shot glass with the lime. And because he said there wasn't a lot of flavor to it, he said, all I taste is lime. But I think that's a difference in the quality of the tequila. Nothing against the one that I just named. I don't know if it was that one. I actually like it, especially margaritas. To me, the price point on this one, the taste of it, this isn't one you would mix in a margarita. You're just kind of wasting it. It's a good sipping tequila.
What is the price point?
I don't know because I know it was hard to find. It was over $100. I think it was less than $200. I've seen it online in different countries, so I don't know what the price is, but probably let's say $99 to $150, maybe.
Okay.
I can ask. I don't know. So, all right. Well, with that, we have our sip of the day. So, Natalie, you want to lay down some of the rules so everybody understands?
Rules are so boring. I think just let them find out. You're gonna learn as we go along. You can play along with us or see. We're just here to help educate, give back, hopefully motivate, and move somebody who's sitting on the sideline trying to figure out what it is that they need to be able to move and take that next step. So let's go ahead and move on into the main dish.
Sure. All right. So I don't remember if it was Natalie's idea or Kelly's idea, but so I have a company. It's called Inside the Why. And we thought about, well, why is it that we want to do this podcast? And it really ties into what my company's all about. And I have a company, like I said, called Inside the Why, founder and chief why officer. And I like to help individuals really reconnect with their purpose and give them clarity and also help you find your voice. But it really does tie in well. Natalie, I actually think it was you that said, let's talk about the why. Mm-hmm. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? And we not only want to share that with you, but we're hoping by the end of this that it helps you really reconnect with who you are. Because while we're having a lot of fun, everything's not sunshine and rainbows. There's a reason why the three of us got together in some really crazy, unconventional ways. We've taken a lot of risks. We enjoy helping others. And so we wanted to, talk a little bit, tell you who we are, because it's our very first episode. And then just let you know that hopefully, as you are listening to this each and every time, you are...
Hello. That would be our
It's our mascot.
Our mascot. Bullet.
Here's the thing: we can edit it out, or we can just keep it real. I
don't know.
Let's just keep it real.
We've taken. It's been a little bit to get here, so
yeah. So today, speaking of why we are here, let's start with that. This one lives like an hour and a half away. We were going to record outside. There's a beautiful view out there. And this massive thunderstorm decided to come through. She was up before me and sends a screenshot of it like,
with
Natalie?
a big, yikes. Yeah. lightning everywhere, flooding. We are south of Houston. She's north of Houston. So she had to go through Houston to get here. And if you're familiar at all with Houston, you know that it takes 1 inch of rain to flood. So we were concerned about her coming down, but fortunately she made it.
Being in real estate, it's not that bad. Not 1 inch, and it really depends on the party camp.
Well, true. I say that only because low profile car and anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's a huge driver too. Like I don't mean driver as in she drives. Yes, she does. But driver in success, driver in making things happen. Because I was like, hey, I woke up. I slept in late because I binge watched Handmaid's Tale. It's about to end. I have 1 episode left. I waited. Thank goodness, because I don't know what time I would have woken up. I see all these texts. I'm like, what, are we canceling? This one's like, no, we're not canceling. We've been planning this forever. We're recording today. So that's what I mean by our driver. She will like hold you accountable.
Let's go. We got stuff to do.
She was definitely the driving force behind us getting things accomplished and completed. So kudos to that. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. All right. Whew. So, speaking of telling you a little bit about themselves without telling you a little bit about themselves, real estate, Natalie.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. I'm in real estate. I'm an investor. I've been in education in real estate around the industry for 20 plus years. I really love what real estate does for people, not only the individual. When you're buying a home, that's where a lot of your equity and where your wealth is. And I've also seen it really change people's lives through investment, through the appreciation, through everything. I just saw Cody Sanchez talk. She talks. I love Cody Sanchez. If you guys ever see her, but she's an influencer on Instagram, and she buys businesses, and she's very articulate and able to get across her point very well. She was saying, why invest in real estate? Like, buy a business when you can start, getting cash flow right away and start monetizing the business. She's like, when you buy real estate, you cash flow $167 a month. I have seen lives change from that $167 a month, because it is so much more than that $167. Right. It's the, accelerated depreciation. It's the cash flow. It's the appreciation. It's the equity pay down from the tenant. Plus, it's more passive. I can go through the list. I love real estate. I love teaching. I'm very passionate when it comes to it. And that's kind of where I'm at now in my life. It's how do I give back and give more? I am a realtor, but I always say one of my biggest pet peeves is people who become a realtor to become an investor, which are two different paths. Mm-hmm. And to understand the difference in those when you're starting a business, and whether you're going the investment route, you are going the realtor route, or you're just being a business owner, to know the hat and the role and how they play. And you need to be very focused whenever you're growing and going. So that's kind of like my thought process of why I'm here, because I want to be able to give back. We really had fun on the radio show. Like we would get some awesome feedback. The listeners were part of our show, whether they would email us, because they would message us. They would, you know what we don't have? Tell me you have one.
What?
What would you always do on the radio show?
A joke of the day.
A joke of the day. I have a drink of the day.
Oh, okay.
Look, I came up with that.
So we'll have to come up with a joke of the day.
That'll have to be added.
So one of my presents from her, she was traveling. Where'd you go? And you brought me a
Branson. Where does every couple go, like with all their children and grandchildren? You go to Branson, Missouri, and so
she came back with a book of jokes for me, because I guess she thought mine were really lame. But I don't know. I will come back. We'll have jokes. We'll have jokes. I mean, we might think we're funny, but we might not be everybody's cup of tea.
We just have a good time.
You definitely got some laughs.
The feedback on that, like from our Facebook followers and people, it was always just a good time. Information, and that's really what it's about. I do think that this show is kind of more on the superficial level of like just introducing you to who we are. Mm-hmm. Like, I was raised from a single mom, went to 13 different high schools. I didn't meet my father till I was 14. He ended up dying when I was 18 of brain cancer, which it was an impact in my life, and walking in faith and how you walk in faith with what you do and why you do it the way you do it, and trusting the plan and trusting the purpose. I have a really neat story that goes along with that when I met my dad and how I did. But I think that all of it leads us down the road to where we are now. And I think that's important to realize our journey and where we're going and how that impacts and everything. So it's bigger when you go inside the why Like, what is your why? What is your family why? What is your purpose? What is your purpose at work? How are you giving back? Like the bigger picture. But my why is just, I'm really just glad to be here and hopefully spread joy, information, and knowledge and be motivational for people. So, and as a mom, entrepreneur, as we all are, you know, when you're a mom, you're running a business, you're in the C-suite, you're doing all these things, whether you're an entrepreneur, C-suite business, even if you're not, you're going to work the daily grind. You're still thinking, how do I get dinner ready? How do I do this? And if you're a dad, how do I prepare? Like, how do I take care of my family? You're out hunting, killing, and providing and bringing back. So how do we do all of this more effectively and have that impact? I think is we all can bring something to the table, hopefully some lightheartedness, some fun in the process. And we'd love to hear your stories too through all of this. Like, what are you struggling with? How can we help you? And kind of go that route. So
You'd be surprised. There may be a lot of common denominators that we're not even sharing. It's the very first show.
So it's funny that you say that because I've known Mindy for, many, many years. And just recently, within the last year, had the privilege of meeting Natalie. And it's funny that for those of you who think all of a sudden, well, I don't know real estate, I don't understand real estate. I have a medical background. I didn't know anything about real estate other than the fact that I buy too many houses, but for different reasons. We'll go into that later on. But
Would that be a sip happen?
when you go from, I had a very rapid change in my career, and that's how I met Natalie, through going to work with Mindy. And speaking of being a teacher, I learned so much just about the real estate industry because, like I said, I went from a medical background and decided to take a leap of faith and go into the real estate investing arena and learned a lot. So for a lot of the words, one of the first episodes that I was on their radio show was how I just did not speak the language. And what made me think of that a minute ago was Natalie was talking about, all these terms and this, and I'm like, the very first time we had that conversation, I was lost as a goose. I thought, I don't know what any of this is. So we started talking about how I speak a different language. So our very first radio show that you invited me on was to share different acronyms that fall within the real estate arena and the medical arena. And it was hilarious, the different things we came up with, because obviously things that I came up with were totally different. I mean, I had things about your bowels and all this kind of stuff. And Mindy was like, no, that is not what we're talking about. So it made you realize that just because you speak a different language, through getting to know someone and listening and having an interest, I learned the language a little bit better. Certainly not as much as these two, but they're learning a little bit more about me. And in just the last 2 days, Natalie and I have come to realize how much of a parallel universe our lives are. Natalie had the misfortune of losing her father to brain cancer. I lost my late husband to brain cancer as well. And I got chills on that. And I didn't realize that until 2 days ago. And all of a sudden it was like, wow, you were raised from a single mom. I was raised from a single mom. We've all dealt with being caregivers and death and everything. And it's amazing how 3 women from 3 very different backgrounds still run a very parallel race with each other. And that's, I think, what a lot of this is about. Because I've got my doctorate in physical therapy. I've been a physical therapist for 35 years. I own a business in Louisiana that is a non-medical caregiver business. We've all been caregivers. So it's just funny how everything comes together and it just meshes. Yeah. And so you don't want to ever, I guess my big take is that you don't ever want to limit yourself to people who have just your similar interests, because there's so many different things out there that you're going to bond over with other people. And so I really feel like people limit themselves if they don't just open up their horizons and seeing what's out there, because I've learned so much. And that's a lot of what we want to hopefully bring to you guys is just our life experiences. You've got entrepreneurs, real estate, life, and they all 3 very much coincide together. So yeah, you're going to like this.
You're going to like it.
You're going to like this a lot.
You don't think about it. This is kind of like a Debbie Downer moment. but it's not, but it is. It's like you think about brain cancer. I lost my best friend to brain cancer. I lost my sister-in-law to brain cancer. Like all three of us have 5 people very, very close to us from that. Three of them similar types of cancer, one different, but still just, there's a lot. I lost my dad 18 years ago in August, and my mom just a couple of years ago, and being the caregiver for her, and how we're very different. Our personalities are super different. Kelly also, while she was working with us at a real estate company, an investment company, an education company we were working at, she has all along been the CEO of a home health care company.
I took over. I started co-founder with my father 25 years ago. And when he decided to step down, and we had a change in our personnel over there, and I just kind of stepped up. I've got a fantastic group over there that oversees everything, but I had to step into the.
She says over there because it's in Louisiana.
It's in Louisiana.
We're in Texas, by the way. You can tell.
But that's what I mean when I tell you to surround yourself with amazing people. I have some amazing ladies over there that just keep things going. So, we're 3 very busy ladies, but we want to share our experiences and our ups and our downs and our mistakes and our trips and our falls and kind of what got us here together.
And I don't think Mindy's really talked about. She talked a little bit about our company Inside the Y, where she is chief Y officer.
Yes.
I like that. But she's also pretty famous in her own world, her own right, in the sense of speaking and on the national stage. She has worked her way to the top. We volunteer at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and Mindy is on one of the coveted volunteer committees, and she made her way all the way to the top and was queen bee. I don't know what it's called exactly when you make it all the way up there.
So for grand entry on hospitality, vice chair. That's as far as I could go. And I'm still there. I still volunteer. I love it. I'm always so thankful for Hat Pony Cup for the opportunity when I was on Corral Club ticket sales, which is also an amazing committee. But to get on that one, that was pretty
And then
incredible.
working your way up to the top. And then for the apartment association, she's worked her way up to the top 2 as supplier counsel with one of her companies that she also worked at and helped build that company and grow it nationwide. So,
well, thanks. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I am the chair of the National Supplier Council for the National Apartment Association. And, it's like, okay, what do you do now? And you just keep giving back and you keep volunteering it. And it is weird. You think about your why. Y'all, you think about getting into it. You brought up the rodeo. Why did I start doing Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo? And some of you are listening from wherever in the country, and you're like, okay, cows and horses and you Texans with your guns. It's very different. We actually raise money, and Natalie speaks to different schools about the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo and the opportunities that are there. But we raise money, millions and millions of dollars for students. And so, yes, we have a rodeo. We have concerts. We bring in amazing artists, and it is wonderful. And truly the reason that I actually started volunteering all those years ago was to get in for free, to get into the concerts for free. And it is crazy. It was so selfish. And then as I grew up and as I learned and I really started to get involved, I realized the lives we were impacting. I'm sure part of that is having kids and, my kids growing up and thinking, oh, could they get the scholarship? Or I just want them to know more, and just that giving back portion. So now I used to be up there for 12 years. I was up there almost like every day. And half the time I'd never make it to a concert. I think this last year I was up there 7 or 8 times. I made it to, I think, 1 concert. It's just different how your lives change. And so you think about your why. And I think this is really important because there could be some people that are listening right now and you just feel like you're stuck in a rut. You're at the job that you love. Do y'all remember when you started that one job that was, let's say, your dream job, or you were just so excited to have a job and you got up every morning and you were thrilled to be there? Like you felt as happy the first day as you did 2 years, 3 years.
You've got some people in the audience saying, no.
I had a job I was at for 11 years and I was so happy for the majority of those years. Like over the top, you'd ask me, I'm as happy as I was the day I started. Things change. My mom died. Like a lot of things changed, and I look back and I dig into, what changed, what happened. And then there's been jobs, I can even say it. I was at a job, I was thrilled like the first day. And then it's like, oh my God.
What have I done?
What have I done? Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was like a month in. But, what is it that drives you and what's different? Like going back to the rodeo example, what drove me there before is very different than what drives me there now. And oftentimes folks that are in a rut, and I think we can all relate to this, you're thinking something's wrong with you, or you don't like what you do anymore, or you don't want to get out of bed. You can't really figure it out. There's nothing wrong. It's just circumstances have changed. You've evolved. And sometimes it's taking that hard look in the mirror and it's taking a deep breath. And it's like, why did I originally start doing this? Why did I originally get in this relationship? This happens with relationships over time. It's like we were in love. Are we still in love? And, what did you love about that person? What did you love about that job? What did you love about that coworker, that company? And you can think about it. It's like, okay, now what do you love now? Or who can you surround yourself with? What mentors can you get around? Who are folks in great relationships? Relationships are things we're going to talk about on this. Natalie, you have a book. I don't even know if you want to talk about that right now. I found that out. Another fun fact.
She's published.
Yes, lots of fun facts.
Yeah.
But your why, it's okay for it to evolve over time. It's just making sure you can figure out what it is and sticking to that and not being afraid. There's going to be an episode that we have about authenticity, and that's a big key word. It's a hot word these days. And when you cannot hurt others by being authentic, because if you're just an a-hole, that's different. But if you can be true to you and you have a kind heart, and I truly believe most humans do, when you can take care of you, you're then able to take care of others. So I think that's super important.
Well, sometimes your why is not by your choice. I had the major career change. Primarily, I was a clinician. I went in to the homes and treated patients and everything like that. And then when my husband got sick, I realized that I needed to stay home with him. So my why was doing a complete career change, still in the physical therapy arena, but I was a paper pusher at that point. And my why was certainly not by my choice, but that is also what opened up a lot of professional doors for me that I will never regret because I loved the job at the time. So your why may not be, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Sometimes it's why am I here? And it was something that was out of your control, but you still turn it around and you make the best out of it. And like Mindy said, and Natalie both said, you surround yourself with people who help push you down that pathway. When I first started with the rodeo, I was on the lamb and goat committee. And the very first time I went to the auction, and this little boy I think he was a freshman in high school. And as my daughter saw it, she thought it was a pink dog instead of a lamb. She, bless her heart. But anyway, I was there with this little boy, and we all, bid on this lamb, and it made a huge impact on him because it was going to make the difference as to whether or not he was going to be able to eventually go to college. And he was very much, involved with this lamb and getting it raised. And he still had 3 years to go. And so it was huge. And to see the smile on his face and his parents' face, and know that little bit of money that we got for that auction, for that lamb, was going to open thousands of doors for all of these kiddos to, increase their education, everything. I mean, that's what made me want to keep going. Yes, I do like the free concerts, but when you see the reaction on these kids' faces and the parents' faces from all these millions of dollars of scholarships that we give out, it's just it's very heartwarming.
Over $500 million, $560 million has been raised by the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo to give out in educational scholarships, not just for raising animals, but for a variety of other things.
Right.
This isn't a podcast about the rodeo. However, they have done phenomenal for the kids in the area, and it's truly a multicultural, fun event for everyone.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of good things.
We're very fortunate to be part of it. So
let's go back and talk about, you said, like, who you surround yourself with. And it's important to have a variety. Like, you wouldn't think necessarily that you and I would be friends or something like outside, just because our circles don't necessarily run together. But whenever you sit back and you open yourself up for new friends and new ideas and new people, and you put yourself in situations to make new relationships, you're really giving yourself an opportunity to be blessed and to bless others. So at my church where we go, there is we do the regular church, which you go and you do your Sunday, hoorah, have your coffee, listen to the pastor. And I love our pastor. But then you go home and you go about your day. what they really push is house church. And the one thing that he always says is house church is just a variety of people, all different age groups, different levels of life. Like, we're all in a phase where our kids are older, except I have a bonus baby. He's 9. But, empty nesters, kids are moving out, getting married. Congratulations. All these other things that are going on in our lives that it's not, we've been there, done that. So for a young mom who's got 3 littles that are, 5 and under or 6 and under, like the wise advice or the sage advice that you can share when needed, or when there's marriage counseling or, counsel that needs to be given. Not that we're counselors, but you can advise, you can say, hey, young man, that's not the way to go. Or, hey, young lady, is that a wise decision? Or this is how I would handle that. Maybe you're being a little too sensitive, where if it comes from somebody else versus the spouse, then it's not like a headlock kind of situation. So there's a lot of value in that. So
absolutely. It's amazing how you can tell your child something and they're like, but then your friend can tell your child the exact same thing. Like, well, of course. It's like, okay.
I just consider it a watering. Like, I've got my little acorn seed planted, and I just water it. I sprinkle in my little.
Well, and if you think about it from a business standpoint too, what you just said, you gave the example of tell your kiddo something and then another friend comes in and they say it, or somebody else says it, and all of a sudden they're listening. Well, businesses, if you're struggling and you have ideas and you're having to bring outside consultants in to share whatever your idea is, whatever you're trying to get across, that's a communications problem. You need to sit back and you need to figure out, why aren't they listening to what you have to say? Because a business relationship versus a personal relationship, those are 2 very different things. And oftentimes those lines get blurred and they get crossed. And so there, in my opinion, is a time and a place for the good friendships. Like, we are all here because we work together. Like, literally, we had to go to lunch to make sure we were even going to be able to work together. But there was that respect. And so if something needed to be done, you get it done, or you talk about why at the core of it, you're not going to do it. And there's a whole lot that we can talk about with that. But I wanted to bring that up because if somebody's out there and they're listening, you're like, why are we having to spend all this money on consultants? Hey, hire me. P.S. By the way, that's probably a very selfish point. But no, there's a problem. You don't need me. You need to clean your house, figure out what's actually going on. Because the whole thing about the spouse listening to you, same thing. My husband can tell me something, I'm like, and then somebody else does. I'm like, okay, fine. And I do love my spouse, by the way. I can tell my kids something. Sometimes they listen. Depends on if they want something. But somebody else doesn't. All of a sudden, they're listening. Or you learn a better way to communicate with them. And I've gotten a little good with that on one of them. But he's upstairs right now. I don't want him to hear me. So I'll share more.
No secrets.
Well, and falling back to my medical background, it's almost like your second opinion. It's like, I heard what you said, but I want to really hear what this other person has to say also, because sometimes we lose our objectivity and we see things through tunnel vision, and this is how it's going to be. And it takes one person to come in and say, you realize there's 4 forks in the road and you keep going down the same one. And sometimes it just takes that realization that you're not opening yourself up to the communication, the possibilities, just everything that's out there. And by getting those people to come in and do it on a consulting basis and say, here's the issue that I'm seeing. Well, I've run this company for 25 years and I don't understand why we can't get any further. And it's one little tweak, but it takes a person coming in and from the outside looking in and saying, oh, wow, let me help you. And so it's huge. And whether it is business, or it can be in friendships, or it can be in a number of things. But you just have to allow yourself to be open-minded and accept those recommendations, I guess, sometimes, even if it's not always what you want to hear, because sometimes they may tell you that you're wrong. Okay. And you have to be willing to swallow that very jagged pill.
I have some thoughts on that. So one, I raise my kids to be critical thinkers. So they're going to ask questions. They're not just yes men. They're not little Marine Army men that go through. So I want them asking questions. I want them to be critical thinkers and be able to move. But also, like, if I need them to stop being a critical thinker and be a worker, like there's a time, like Mindy's saying, there's a time to work and a time to play. But as a leader of a company, you have to have that clear vision, and they need to understand the why. And I think so many times in life and in business, we just say, I said it, therefore it needs to happen. And let's go, let's jump. How high now? No, Why am I jumping? What's the purpose? How long am I jumping for? Is this an everyday thing? Is this like to explain what the purpose is? Then that by explaining with that clarity and that action plan of this is why, and working it backwards for your team, whether it's your family, whether it's your business, that clarity and the execution, guys, this is why I need this done. I'm not just looking for KPIs to be able to have them to measure your work, but my goal is to get here. And if you guys help me get here, this is what we can do together as a company. And I think so many times we skip these steps and we think like, who am I to give weight loss advice? Hey guys, let me tell you how to be healthy. Like fasting is a great thing. I love fasting. However, am I the embodiment of fasting and health? No, I'm still figuring things out as I go along. But if you see me doing it successfully many times in a row, you're like, she's gone further than I have. I can do that. I can listen and I can learn. So sometimes people give opinions just to give them. And we don't really need to, we don't need that. We don't need to hear it. We need it to, because there's these different distractors. Like there's not that focus. But if you can clearly communicate the reason, the why, the vision, the mission, and the purpose, then you can go on that path and get it done.
We don't always have the luxury of moms because I said so. That's why that doesn't work except with your little kids. And it doesn't always work with your little kids.
Not always.
Cheers to that.
So whenever you, cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
She just wanted to.
I know. Yeah. Me too. One of the things that I want to say on business that relates back to what you were talking about, it is critical to understand the mission, the vision, and to clearly communicate where you're going. I was actually listening to an episode from Alex Hormozy. I don't know when it came out. It was just one popped up today that I was listening to. And I thought he explained it really well. He was looking at this business that this guy and his team, I don't know how big it was. He said they're bringing in about 5 million, not net, but bringing that in. And they couldn't get past that. He was like, well, how do I get past that? I think I need to change. And don't get mad at me if I'm misquoting this, but here was my interpretation, which by the way, everybody's interpretation can be different. I remember whenever I was listening to you were talking about church, my husband and I were sitting there and I was listening to the pastor. I walked up to him, was like, oh my God, your message really resonated with me. And he was like, well, what did you get from it? And I told him, he was like, I don't remember talking about that. I was like, well, the Lord talked to me and he said, it's not
My spirit, it came in.
So, but this company, they thought they needed to pivot. They needed to change their path. And he said, oftentimes, again, me thinking in the way I heard it, is that you're not getting the result you want, so you want to pivot. You want to make change. Mm-hmm. And you can know the mission, the vision, and the goal, and you can say it, and this is why you're making change. But if you make change too quickly, too often, and you don't ever let your team get legs underneath them, that's also going to be something that's going to be really difficult. And so it's like, what is the real goal? And peeling back to the core of it, and then going in and sitting down and having communication with the top people, everybody lining out. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. This is why. Do you need help here? Do you need help there? And not making change so fast so that you can't keep up. And I think that's something that's important too. You can communicate well, but if you don't give enough runway to actually be able to execute, that's another problem. That's a whole other episode.
That's a waste. That's a whole waste of time, energy, and effort. That's all.
Well,
and that's ADHD entrepreneur spirit right there.
Exactly. Because everything takes time to show results. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, medical background. Think of all the clinical trials. Think of everything that it has to be tested and retested and tested, retested before they finally say, okay, yes, you're right, this is going to work. Well, it may take 5 years. Now, sometimes in business, you don't have 5 years.
Unless it's the COVID vaccine, but other than that.
Okay, yep.
Mm-hmm. On there, because I just listened to another podcast on that and everything that's happening. And so how do you feel now? But we're not going there. This is our first one.
Yeah, so, but again.
Rip that Band-Aid off.
It's all.
Is your insurance going to really?
It's all relative.
Do you need it?
Yeah, it's all relative, so.
No, but you're right. The timeline where you were going. In the true clinical studies, it does take time. It's not just boom, everybody has the same reaction, everybody, right. Or, whatever you're studying, however it works out. So, yeah.
And it's some timelines, they're just, you have to have a quicker, drastic decision than in something like that. Some don't involve the person's life, but some, maybe their livelihood, in reference to their, putting food on their table and everything. So, yeah.
Food's important.
Food's important.
Food's really important. I'm like hungry, y'all. So we're going to be wrapping this up here in a minute. So, but there's a lot of different reasons you'll hear that we are here and why. But one of the things is the relationship that we have, and we each have different backgrounds, and we would definitely love to hear from you on a topic, on a drink suggestion. We've got some really fun ones that are coming up that we've already planned because, of course, we've got to talk about what drinks we're going to be serving.
Right.
Yeah.
And serving them up. But, I am thrilled to be here with these three ladies. And as we take turns kind of leading the show.
These three ladies?
These, me too.
Oh,
She counts. She is a person too.
Oh, when she said us three ladies, these three ladies, I'm like, okay.
Bullets, Mel.
And I haven't even finished my shot, by the way.
Y'all be sure to like and follow us on all the socials and follow us for your podcast. Share with your friends. We got a lot more to come. We're in this for the long haul and hopefully entertain, educate, and just have some fun. We're, we're also not CPAs or anything else like that. So
take your caution, drink responsibly. We will answer questions. Do your homework about whatever we say. Our opinions are our own.
Our opinions, I was about to say our opinions, you may not agree with our opinions. Sometimes we don't agree with each other's opinions, but again, it is what it is. So you just have to make, formulate your own opinion and join us and give us your feedback. I mean, that's how we grow.
Yeah. Check us out, sugarspiceandspirits.com. There's a spot where you can sign up for our newsletter. You can also drop us a message if there's a drink that you want us to present, or if there's a topic that you want us to tackle. We are all about tackling real issues, y'all. This is about life. This is about real estate. This is about business. So we pretty much are trying to encompass a lot of things.
Yeah. And a lot of our stuff that we're going to talk about are topics based on our own experiences. And so hopefully that will allow a good connection with a multitude of people on a lot of different levels, because again, we have just a very vast experience arena. So yeah. So it's going to be entertaining for sure.
Yeah. And the more listeners that we get and subscribers, the more you'll get to see our 80s photo shoot JC Penney's.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if anybody wants to see that or not. But there is a picture on the website. So if you're just curious, just go look at the website. There are more in town, but we don't want to scare you off too soon.
Okay. We'll see y'all later. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Everybody.
Sugar, Spice, and Spirits is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are solely those of the host and guests and do not represent those of any affiliated organizations. The content provided is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, whether legal, financial, medical, or otherwise. Always seek the advice of qualified professionals regarding any questions that you may have. While we aim to keep information accurate and up to date, we make no guarantees of completeness, reliability, or accuracy. Any action you take based on the information presented is strictly at your own risk. Cheers to mixing a little fun and some friendly advice. But remember, sip responsibly and always do your own homework.